showtime.
It's about that time.
Let's go.
You're right where you need to be. This is GCOM Radio.
Hardest radio station on the planet. Yeah.
Powered by Lyfeblood.com.
We certified.
And hosted by Nova Phoenix.
Give them that flavor.
Okay, all right. Okay, what is the deal, everybody? What's going on? This is your favorite illustrious host, Nova Phoenix, right back on the mic again, hitting you for the news show. Yeah, I'm a little late, my bad. I'm strapping up my chair. I'm eating some bread, some butter bread, because that's what I do. I shouldn't be eating it, but you know, they said the weed is fine. It's all good. I'm on a strict diet, and I can't say too strict because I'm eating buttered bread, but you know, I'm on a little diet right now, you know, just trying to lose my weight. I'm coming along. I'm losing the poundage. I got plenty more to go. I think I lost about, I don't really weigh myself. I think I weigh about, I weigh 10 pounds less. I think it's about 10 pounds. I'm going to stick to that. But I have noticeably lost the weight, and my pants is feeling, my jeans is feeling a little loose. You know what I mean? I'm wearing shirts. I got plenty of weight to lose. I think I got to get down to about. I'll be happy if once I get down to 240. What's my weight now? I weighed myself. Now, mind you, I weighed myself back in the day when I went to go forward for the first time. Of course, you have to take all your, you know, your height, weight, and all that information. And I came in at a whopping, guess what? A whopping 292. Now, mind you, I did have boots on and clothes on, fully clothed, all right? Because if anybody that knows Go Forward, you step on that machine, of course, it looks like a teleporter from out of Star Trek. And then, you know, you have to take all your, you know, all your information. And then, of course, you don't take off your clothes because it's really out in the lobby area. And Go Forward is in, I think it's in Lower Manhattan or Midtown Manhattan, somewhere around there. And yeah, man, I weighed myself at 292. The heaviest I have ever felt. I'm telling you, is the heaviest I have ever been. And you know, this 2 years did not do me any good being sheltered in, even though it was a great sheltered in. Yeah, man, I was eating all the bad stuff, eating all the cakes, the cookies, all the sugary stuff. And yeah, man, I gotta lose weight. And it turns out, and sometimes I like to keep certain things private, but yeah, I'll share with you guys. The doctor says I had diabetes. Yes, diabetes, man. I forgot the number, but I was just creeping into the zone of diabetes. Never had this ever happen to me before, but I've more or less been like very active, working out. I've done martial arts, and my weight has always been up and down. You know, you stop working out and you gain weight and you lose it. So I guess this time around, you know, being at the age that I am at this point, my body was like, yeah, you need to chill out. And I'm gonna show you how. Yeah, man. So yeah, I got diabetes. I just crept in. The doctor was like, you got to lose it. You know, do you want to take pills? This happened I told you guys I went to Go Forward. I guess I was back about almost 2 months ago or something like that. And the doctor said, hey, do you want to take pills? And I said, hell no, because I know the people that have kicked their diabetes just by changing their diet. And, you know, everybody, if you heard me talk on this show before, I've been a pescatarian for years. I'm not a pescatarian anymore. I stopped it about 10 years ago. So I do eat red meat again. But I know what it is to have, a healthy diet. And I told the doctor, nah, I'm not going to do any pills. And, I'm going to lose this on my own. And, I'm going to get right back to it. And I have. I pretty much, I changed my diet. I drink water now. I don't really consume anything for right now because I have to go back July 13th. And another doctor that I was referred to said, just cut out everything, all the sugar, and then we'll get back. And that means, of course, all the white stuff, the white sugar, the white starchy stuff like pasta and all these other things that when your body metabolizes, it turns into fat because it's not being able to metabolize all those carbohydrates. So, yeah, even I got to stop drinking juices. That's what they said. They just want to see where I'm at when I go back to July 13th and they do my blood and everything again, where I'm at and if something can be solved by changing the way I eat. So I understand right now, I'm just cutting out everything. And then they said everything in moderation. You can't take too much of anything. So at this point, I just been having water. I cut out all the juices. So let's just say, be honest, I'm like 99.5 on my diet. Every now and then I have like a small little sip of juice because, I'm a juice man. I am not, I can't, I gotta say, I was drinking a little bit more soda than I usually do during the pandemic. So usually I'll have like juice every 2 months or something. I mean, it's not juice, soda every 2 months, and then it turn into like once a week. Then I have 2 bottles a week, and that's it. But I'm not like I was never like a soda drinker, like everyday type of soda drinker. I would just get the 16-ounce bottles, and if I had a craving for it, I did. But of course, soda has a lot of sugar. So I cut out the soda, the cookies, all that bad stuff, high sugar content, and I'm just drinking water. I have my fruits. They even said that if you're gonna have fruits, make sure you eat the fruits that has fiber in it. Just don't drink. That's why they want me to stay away from actual juice. For right now, during this moment, just to see how my body is gonna balance all this stuff out. So, man. So I've just been eating salads, peanuts, cashews, regular peanuts, anything, mixed nuts, oranges, apples, bananas, what else? Strawberries, pears, anything that I just have that. I really don't a lot of people going to criticize and be like, oh, no, what else are you eating for the day? You can't just eat fruit. This is what I do. You know what I mean? I eat fruits. I'll have my peanuts. I'll buy my cashews or my peanuts, whatever it is. And I'll have that for the day, and then I'll have my dinner. Like the other day, of course, I had a steak. I had a steak and sweet potato, of course, not to eat the potatoes with starch, the regular potato. So I had a sweet potato. So I had it with my steak, and it was very, very good. So I'm going to the doctor the July 13th to see how everything is. I'm pretty sure, and it's just not, I'm not just doing it for the doctor. It was just time. This was just like God telling me like, all right, enough with that, because like I said, I was always up and down. I was active, then non-active, active, non-active. It just caught me at a point. Of course, everybody, as you get older, your body is not as, sprite as it used to be. You can't consume the same things that you used to when you're 22 years old. You know what I mean? At this time when I was on my down moment, and eating all the bad stuff, my blood sugar just spiked, and it was like, oh, okay, let me do that. So this was just a kick in the pants by God to be like, all right, man, just get back on your activity and being more disciplined in how you eat. Now, after it and everything gets settled and everything balances out, I even said to my family, I was like, listen, once everything balances out, the first thing I'm going to do when my blood sugar is at a nominal level, and this is bad, but this is what it is. I love cheesecake. I'm going to go right to Cheesecake Factory and get me a fat cheesecake. I love cheesecake. That's just me. I love cheesecake. So yeah, but it's not bad. I tell people every time out there, if you are dealing with weight issues, do what works for you. Some people like the keto, what do you call the keto diet, where you just eat meat or something like that. Do whatever works for you, and everything in moderation. And you have to be active right along with the changing of your diet. You got to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week to really burn those calories, to really get it in, get some weightlifting in, get your cardio in. That's the way you're going to lose weight. Some people is going to take longer than others to lose it. Of course, you've known that if you're heavy into weight loss and you're dealing with it and it's a challenge for you, I know you've seen those videos on YouTube or online where some people take a year to lose the weight. Some people take 2 years to lose the weight, but they eventually lose the weight because they stay consistent and they're disciplined. So anyone can really get into shape if they are really so inclined to do so and if they're serious about it. So you can, and I'm not worried about myself. I know I could do it. I've done it before. It's not an issue. I just have to be more disciplined in my diet. You can't, like I said, you can't eat things like how you used to when you're young because your body will be able to metabolize things so much easier. But now, of course, you get older, your metabolism slows down, and things of that nature. So I'm not worried about it. I know I'm going to get back to how I used to be. So as I said, I'm losing a little bit. I think about 10, 12 pounds. I'll be happy once I get down to 240. As I continue on with this shift in my lifestyle, in my diet, and if I lose another 10, 15, 20 pounds and I get down to 230, 225 a year from now, then it is what it is. I'll be fine with that. But, I'm trying to really get my life in order as far as my diet. So I have to add that on into my schedule. So trying to do a podcast, working on this business or getting VC funding, really everything else, marketing and pushing the business. Now I have to add on the health part to my daily schedule, and you have to flip all these things, and it's just what it is. You just got to do what you got to do. Now my health is important and it's front and center. So I'm here, folks. So all right, let's get on with the show, man. I got a couple of things I want to talk to you about, so let's get rock and rolling. Yes, I am your old Nova Phoenix on GCOM Radio on iHeartRadio, and we are going to get into the first topic of the discussion. I'm going to take another bite of my thing. So I talked about the 23andMe thing back then, I spoke a little bit about the FBA. Everybody knows FBA is Foundation of Black Americans. A term that was coined by this dude, Tariq Nasheed, to recognize the lineage of African Americans or Black Americans, however you want to put it, in this country that are descendants of the people that came because of the transatlantic slave trade. So I did say I had some issues with the name. I think the name is flawed, and thinking back on it, and I'm thinking about the 23andMe and how they relate, or how they don't relate, based on my experience and everything that I know coming up as a Black man in this country. I think there's certain things with the FBA that I really I don't think I quite really broke it down the way that I should, because I was just taking notes and trying to get things off of my mind. And I guess it's a continuation of it. And not to knock anyone that wants to call themselves FBA, as far as Black Americans that can trace their lineage back to the transatlantic slave trade in whatever way that you can, because eventually you hit a wall, because of course all that information, that those records have been destroyed. That's nothing. It's not something that was valued or seen as necessary when it came to what it meant to be an enslaved African of that time period. So if there were any records that did survive the decades, the centuries, you were pretty lucky. But eventually everybody knows you hit the Great Wall. You can only go back so far. And that's one of the devastating things about the transatlantic slave trade, that when they say they take everything from you, they certainly do. As far as your language, your culture, your ritual, your people, your dance, your music, your food, all of that is stripped away from you. And now African Americans are finding their way back to seeking an identity that they can value, that they can feel that is a part of them. And it takes some time to rebuild that. And that's one of the plights of African Americans in this country, trying to figure out where we fit in this new life post slavery, even though it's been, centuries since. We're still on our way, and we're still dealing with a lot of the systemic racism that kind of blocks our path to trying to get where we need to be. So, when I'm going through my 23andMe and I see the breakdown, and I did break it down back then, I'm portioning a little bit of the region of Nigeria and Ghana and Sierra Leone and all these other parts. And it just goes to show that, what actually happened in the transatlantic slave trade, where they took all types of African people off the west coast of Africa and they threw them in boats. And there were African people that didn't speak the same language. They were coming from different regions, and they literally did not understand each other when they were on the boat over to the quote unquote new world. And they did not understand each other when they hit this land, when they first stepped foot on this land, of course, as well as the Caribbean. And people intermingled. They had kids across ethnicities. And, new cultures kind of sprouted out from that. Of course, of what we understand as the Caribbean, of course, the Gullah Gullah people, of course, the Maroons, the Black Americans, the initial first few enslaved Africans that came here. And out of new came other new cultures, of course, what we know as an American, Black American culture here, the Black American South culture, of course, hip hop, jazz, the foods that came out of it, all these things that was created by Black hands and Black minds post-slavery. So yeah, man, it's wild. We're all a mishmash of the different African ethnicities that had to deal with each other, that had to deal with this new terrible nightmare that took place for 400 years. So and still continues in a lot of different ways. But that's why this whole term was created, FBA, and I just found it as flawed because I didn't understand. I don't think it properly really embraces what it is to be African American, Black American in this culture. And of course, foundational, like foundational, it was said that you're foundational. We've always been here. The argument, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody's FBA, that's a big follower of Tariq Nasheed, but he does say we're Black Americans here are foundational. I'm technically not foundational because my roots go back to the Caribbean. Even though I was born here. But so you're not foundational. So you're foundational. You can trace your lineage back to your ancestry. And then, of course, the argument is not a lot of enslaved Africans hit this land. So, of course, how did we get all of these Black people if the majority of enslaved Africans were not shipped into quote unquote America as we know it, mostly in the Caribbean? This is the argument. This is Tariq's argument. So we must have been here even way before the slave trade. And, I agreed to a certain degree. But then he was saying we're the indigenous people. We're the Indians, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. And I'm like, where's the information? Like, huh? What? I totally unequivocally, without a doubt, 125% disagree with that, because where's the evidence for you to say this is foundational? And I never understood that, because you could say what you want, but you got to have evidence to link that. And there is no evidence when you say foundational, because it's all just a mishmash of what a blip flipper flapper. All right. This is the same thing when he says that, all of that is what was that word they use? It's just not banter. It's I forgot the word that's being used, but it's the same thing. If you have no evidence, it's all goes off an emotion, and all goes off of, hey, this must be it. And if you say it, then it must be true. And no, it's not. If in the scientific world, in the academic world, you can have a theory of something, but then you have to back it up with evidence. And then, of course, once all the evidence corroborates what you felt is a specific, that goes to a specific statement or truth, then of course it's no longer a theory. So of course foundational is connected to African Americans, people that came here even before the transatlantic slave trade. But it reminds me of this is why I agreed to a certain point. Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's book, They Came Before Columbus. If anybody knows that book, fantastic. It opened my eyes to so many things. Hopefully it did the same thing for you. And of course, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima did the research for many, many, many years to prove that Africans were here before the transatlantic slave trade. Not exactly what Tariq Nasheed is saying, but black people did travel from the motherland before Christopher Columbus. But the thing was with Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, he had a myriad of different disciplines to corroborate his statement on what he felt was the case as far as Africans coming before the transatlantic slave trade. He had, of course, linguistical information. Linguistics, of course, is the study of language, the connection of language from a people or society that came beforehand. And you can actually trace, based on the root word, once you break it down within the language, how this language have changed and moved to other sects of people, or other people have taken those languages and it's kind of adapted or transformed or evolved into other tongues based on the region. But always, no matter how different those languages may be, there are always root word connections that connect one language that's spoken in one region at one particular time to another group of people that existed before in another time. Linguistics, there's anthropological evidence, study of human behavior, cultures, societies, such and so forth. Archaeological evidence, study of humans through material evidence like artifacts, architecture, burial rituals. Word of mouth passed down to existing descendants, written journals from European, and this is outside archaeological evidence. But of course, other evidence as far as word of mouth passed down to existing descendants, written journals from European explorers at the time. Of course, they're saying one famous journal was Christopher Columbus' brother that traveled, said he saw black people on certain islands within the Caribbean, and he was wondering how the hell all these black people ended here. He actually spoke to the indigenous people, asking about the black-skinned people that he saw on another part, and the indigenous people of that land said, oh, okay, well, yeah, we've been kind of like beefing with these folks a little bit, but yeah, they've been around, but it's not haven't been that bad. They're kind of over there, and not all situations. Some situations were good. They traded and all these other things, but of course, there's going to be a little skirmish and conflict amongst people. But yeah, that's Christopher. I forgot Christopher Columbus's brother's name, but he wrote that all down on his journal, saying, wow, there's black-skinned people here. So that's not information that's widely shared in the educational system here. There's botanical evidence, of course. There's a flower that's native to Africa that was also found in South America. So, of course, a lot of people that came from the old way was like, okay, they were asking questions. How did this flower that's native to Africa end up in South America? And they would say make up all types of arguments, saying it floated on a piece of wood. It must have got blown by wind or something or other. All these fantastical things. But then Dr. Ivan Van Sertima simply said, of course, let's not get with that. If it's all based on some racist idea that black people just don't travel. And Dr. Ivan Van Sertima was saying that, of course, these flowers were taken by the people on the continent. And of course, they came over through natural currents of the ocean. And they came over, of course, and they brought flowers. And they're just not flowers. It's also animals and metallurgical evidence. Of course, they found spears that were buried that had a certain ratio of different metals. That is specific to a certain tribe in Africa. All of this evidence that I just said brings up, of course, backs up what Dr. Ivan Van Sertima was saying as far as Africans were here way before the transatlantic slave trade. Not to say they were indigenous to this land. It just said that African people traveled here many moons ago in a whole nother era that, of course, that was erased through, for whatever reason, it wasn't explained. And a lot of European historians, they have been exposed to that evidence, but of course, in those racist ways, they buried that evidence, omitted it, or left it out entirely, of course, because of their own racist ideologies. So So that's why I say the Dr. Ivan Van Sertima's book, They Came Before Columbus, was so pivotal as far as how I thought of his history dealing with black people. But understanding that you have to do the homework if you have a theory on a specific subject matter. And he's proven that. I encourage everybody to read that book. That's opposed to foundational. It's not based on any discipline that was used to prove that this is the fact. This is all flights of fancy saying, oh, well, we've been here, so we must be foundational. And I'm not saying all the information that Tariq says is wrong. And he definitely does take from the same books because he's a student of those books that was written by Dr. Ivan Van Sertima and a lot of other brothers and sisters that came from the 80s, 90s, trying to reconnect African people, black people in America to their past. However, he takes liberties to himself where he just wants to go off on his own thing. And then he says, oh, we're foundational, so we must. No, you got to provide evidence, dude. What does that foundational mean? What does that mean? Which leads me to the other thing as far as the color situation. I said it before. I don't have to further explain it. Like I said, to limit oneself to the color of your skin, to me, is narrow in thinking. It's now thinking of how you build self-determination. I think what makes your culture is your tradition, your ritual, a worldview, understanding how you see yourself in the world based on the collective knowledge of generations, speaking on spirituality and all that stuff that's developed in your surrounding environment. It takes time to develop these differences, to develop these nuances, these things that make them specifically you. And to identify yourself strictly to a color, to me, is limiting and narrow-minded. And of course, everybody understands is how I feel about American. Not to say we are not culturally American. Excuse me. For those that are, let's say everyone, all black American people of African descent in this country, including FBA, we all share the same ideas that we do not feel we are 100% American, and not that we feel that way, but in how we are treated. Of course, we're culturally American. There's certain foods that we eat, our viewpoints, certain things that make us different from, say, a Sierra Leonean or a French African in France or in England, whatever like that, or someone in Tibet. Of course, there are things that make us uniquely American, but because African American people have gone through so much and continue to go through the disenfranchisement and systemic racism, we do not wholly, fully accept that term as how white Americans would accept that term. Yes, black people will still call themselves American, but the differences that we have to deal with and the biases and all these other things that come with under the dark clouds of white supremacy, that we continuously have to work twice as hard and deal with these isms. It's why we do not fully accept the term American. Of course, we go to France, they say, oh, you're black American. Yeah, of course. But there are certain things that we do not fully embrace when it comes to using that name. Of course, I'm not saying all black people. There's going to be someone that's going to be like, well, I do. Yeah, I get it. But most black people, and I that's why I gave the flag analogy. As far as the American flag is being flown in certain neighborhoods, you can tell which neighborhoods are black and which ones are white based on that American flag. And those little acts that you see play itself out is just an example of how black Americans feel about as how we take the word American associated with us. But yeah. It's interesting. So that's my feeling on FBA. If I didn't fully explain it, if I did, that's all well and good. I felt I was just leaving out certain things that I just feel it's flawed. You could go ahead, black folks that could trace their lineage back to the transatlantic slave trade. You still feel that your FBA is a new thing. That's fine, because you have Hebrew Israelites. You got people who want to call themselves Moors. There are all types of different names that people will want to claim and hold close to their chest. So if FBA is your thing, then, rock out. That's just my personal opinion how it's flawed. So Colombia has elected its first black VP, Francia Marquez. She was on the same ticket as Gustavo Petro, who won the presidential runoff. Now, as you all know already, I'm not being on the first black anything. It's just interesting that Colombia elected Gustavo Petro with his VP who was black. And I think that even though I may not praise it as something as big as how we kind of big this up in America, first black this, first black that, but I think it's an interesting exercise of how the people think in Colombia on what they want, especially when dealing with the ancient sin of colonialism. So let's just see how this plays out in Colombia. Black Colombians represent about 6% of the Colombian population, and they've been dealing with sexism and racism and all the historical bigotry that comes with living in just, how should I say, living in post-colonial world after the last 400 years. You know what I mean? What was that world like pre-European interruption of people here on this side of this hemisphere? I wonder what it was like. Anyway, Internet Explorer, man, is finally being buried. The funeral procession has been laid out. After 27 years, Microsoft has finally decided to end its run. What's going to take its place is Microsoft Edge. They're passing the baton to them. And man, I remember back in the day when Internet Explorer was the biggest thing in America Online, and it was the latest browser that everybody used. It was one of the few browsers that people use, and now here it is 27 years later. They're putting a nail in the coffin on that one. I personally use I use anyway. I use like Firefox, or I mostly use Safari. Actually, isn't there Google too? Google Chrome. I use Google Chrome. I use Google Chrome a lot too. So yeah, but yeah, they're putting an end to Internet Explorer. Hey, it is what it is, right? Out with the old, in with the new. So Beyonce next. Beyonce has come out with her next album. I do not know what it is called, but she got a new single that's out called Break My Soul. Of course, it's got the house vibe. She kind of borrowed from 3 different house songs. I can't remember them right now, but yeah, I was looking at it, and she looks fabulous and as regal as ever. You can see the queen is just emanating from her pores, man. Big ups to Beyonce, man. I really dig who she is. I really was digging who she was. I really dig where she's going. Let me tell you something. Her parents did a fantastic job on Beyonce, and I'm sure she's going to do a fantastic job with her kids that she's raising today. So I'm looking forward to hearing that new Beyonce album, and I like the song. I'm really feeling it. Also, the Drake album dropped. People are smashing that. They were, one Twitter joint was like, they were saying that he take out all these house songs out of his closet and just threw it on the album and just dropped a joint. Yo, they was trash. There was like 1 or 2. I didn't buy the album. I just heard it on iTunes, man. There's 1 or 2, 3 songs that I liked on there, but I get what they're talking about. It's because it was some of the songs are lackluster. I'm like, it sounds like a song that you did and you just doing it off the cuff to see you got a joint, and sometimes it's a hit and then sometimes it ain't. Yeah, that's just one of them songs that's like he just pulled it out and just threw it on. Hey, I'm just dropping an album. Yeah, I don't know about that. I wonder how he felt. You know what's funny? I haven't seen anything online of Drake really kind of responding to the criticisms. I really haven't seen anything, but there are probably 2 or 3 songs you could pluck from there. And it goes to show it doesn't matter who you are, man, how many hits you got. If you're going to put out, if you feel that you're the type of artist that has reached a level where you could just put out anything, you could sneeze on a record and people to buy it. Yeah, people will buy it initially, but when they hear it, man, they will trash it. That's why it's always good, man, to be in the zone and be professional. Be like, all right, I'm going to do this song. Sometimes it works. Sometimes you could do a half-ass effort and come out with a banger, but other times it's not gonna work because nobody is Jesus here. Nobody God. You ain't gonna come and just grace the mic and all of a sudden come out with a hot album that everybody gonna like every time. Yeah, it is. It is what it is, man. You're the best that has ever done it in the history of music. They have all come out with duds. Take your favorite artist or band. There has been some music that they came out with in the past that people was like, it ain't as good as this album. And on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably in all their whole library, I like this one the least. You know what I mean? So yeah, I guess Drake didn't go too good with that. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, Facebook and IG. It seems like Facebook and IG is planning to add more ways for content creators to make money. So they're saying that creators can make money by their reels going viral. They can monetize videos cross-posted to Facebook, and there's going to be a tipping method by this thing called stars that they call. So, of course, I guess what I'm thinking is if content that's put out by a creator is liked by the person or people that's viewing it, they can hit a star, and that star will represent 1 penny that's going towards the artist. There's no royalties, or not royalties, but no monies off of that. Pennies are going to go to IG, Facebook. That's what they say at the beginning all the time, and then they may change, but that 1 single penny is going to go towards that content creator once that starts. And I don't give a goddamn. I really don't mess with IG, and everybody knows that you follow me on IG, as I told you. And please follow me on IG. And I will share certain things with you guys, but I don't really mess with IG. And they recently started hitting me again. All of a sudden, I'm getting messages on my phone, and they're saying, we got to remove this post. We got to remove this post. And I'm like, why are they removing this post? So they're removing my GCOM radio promotion posts, of course, to let you guys know that the new episode is out. And back when I was doing the music, I was taking a lot of indie artists. I would, talk to the artists and say, hey, I love this music. I'm going to play it on the show. They never, of course, they're going to hit me if it was a Jay-Z song, a Beyonce song, or Drake. Of course, they're going to hit me with that. Of course, they're A-listers. But they're never going to get at me at the time. I'm like, they're not going to get at me. This is the indie artist. Technically, they could, because if they register with ASCAP or BMI, technically, they can't say it's copyright infringement. But usually, the copyright folks are just going to go after or keep behind the big dogs. They're not going to really get after the small people. But they took down like 6 or 7 posts on my Lyfeblood account and on my GCOM radio joint off of indie artist music. They just hit me and I'm like, I just don't care anymore. I'm like, whatever, take the music, take it. I don't give a goddamn. That's why I don't be fucking with IG no more. And you probably gonna be like, yo, man, they just doing their job. It's just the algorithm. The algorithm is just finally catching up. But I never understand. This is what I don't understand. So you're gonna hit me for quote unquote copyright infringement off of an indie artist and even some music that is more well known. And I understood it. I was like, okay, I can't really play that. But they took that joint anyway off my IG post. But yet then again, when I'm scrolling through IG, when I'm scrolling through Facebook, people that post like short little viral videos and they're playing music that's obviously copywritten. So I'm like, how are these people able to play this music before it spins? And I'm seeing their hits or their likes, and it's like 100,000. It's been seen millions of times. I'm like, shouldn't it has been like marked at the very beginning? How is this even getting spin on IG enough for it to get like 1 million likes? I'm like, so they're playing this music from well-known artists, their little mashup or whatever they're trying to give in their content, and their joint is getting all this attention or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, little old me, I'm playing indie artists, and all of a sudden IG's like, oh, strike, no, we got to take that off. Strike, we're taking that off. I'm sorry, nobody can see it. And they give you the whole list of all the countries from the countries that it can't be seen by those folks in those countries. It's like an A to Z of countries around the world. I'm like, fuck y'all. I ain't fucking with IG, man. I'm telling you, I'm just on my mission to get my social media down, and it's gonna be the mashup of Web 2 and Web 3, and we're gonna do this right. and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm pushing on that. I don't care about IG. I don't care about Facebook. I will post just to keep it alive, to let them know that my account is there. I did build up a following off of these platforms, and that's fine. I wouldn't want to lose that, but I'm not gonna be posting. Nah. As soon as I make some headway, man, listen, I'm not gonna be paying attention. If they want to shut down, they can shut it down. But I don't care about no goddamn Facebook, because they be doing me dirty. And I always ask that question: how is these people using this song and this mishmash up freaking joint and this content? They doing some, I don't know, dancing or whatever like that, or they talking about something, the music is playing, and you see, I don't care. Anyway, so New York hotels, I remember when I shared with you guys a little bit ago, New York is having a housing crisis. But, I saw another article talking about they're going to turn hotels into housing. This is the thing. So Mayor Eric Adams is talking with the governor, and they're trying to fast track this new initiative that's going on in New York City, where they're taking a lot of motels or hotels and they're going to convert them into housing. Some of them is going to be converted into shelters, but some others are going to be converted into affordable, quote unquote, housing. Get me some goddamn affordable housing. How's that, New York? Because you make an affordable housing for people that's working at Mickey D's or flipping burgers or goddamn a short order cook at I don't know, what's that pancake place? Any fucking breakfast place. 25, 35,000, they could just submit, they're eligible, and they could go in for that lottery. And I can't do it because I make too much goddamn money. What's up with the middle income workers, man? The blue collar workers, man, that they work X amount of dollars. Look, just because I make a certain amount on paper don't mean I don't have bills that I don't want to save somewhere. Come on, New York. I remember New York was where of course you had the rich folks, of course you had the poor folks, but there was definitely a middle class section out of New York where everybody, but it just seems, as I said before, I don't want to beat a dead horse. New York is heading towards the ultra rich and the ultra poor, and I see that as just the ultra poor being there to serve the ultra rich, because somebody's got to make the beds, somebody's got to serve their food, somebody's got to paint the nails and do the hair, and that's why you have all these housing lotteries where it's the extremely poor that can only be eligible for this quote unquote affordable housing, whatever. I just find that suspect. Bill Cosby was in the news. He was found to be civilly responsible for the rape of a 16-year-old girl gagillions of years ago, back in 1970, early 70s, or something like that, in Hugh Hefner's mansion. He's ordered to pay $500,000 to the plaintiff. Mr. Cosby's lawyers, they did say that she was there, but a willing visitor. Okay, they did admit that, but again, this was more than 35 years ago. How do you prove rape at a time? It was a different time. Where's the evidence? Like, if this is gonna be the precedence that's being set, where Cosby, and yeah, I don't get me wrong, I think Cosby's a dirtbag and everything that he did. Trust me, I do. He's definitely not who he said he was all these years. And then the story comes out, I'm like, oh, for real? You slipping chicks? Yeah, no, trust me, I know. But at the same time, there is due process. There is proven before innocent before being proven guilty, and you got to have evidence if that's the case. Evidence, hard evidence linking, but. I also thought, is there a statute of limitations? Like, how is it possible to have someone civilly responsible and paying that much money? I'm just curious. It's crazy to me. And then the other thing is the 8,000 goddamn sperm whale in the goddamn room where they were all avoiding is. There was Hugh Hefner's prey. This is Hugh Hefner's mansion. He was literally running a brothel for all of Hollywood. How is it possible that Bill Cosby is going to be civilly responsible for, quote unquote, an alleged rape that you can't prove, that there's, I guess there's no statute of limitations that is associated with it. And then you have Hugh Hefner, and he's dead now. Of course, he's dead and gone. Hugh Hefner was running a whole brothel. Ain't nobody gonna talk about that? Nobody's going to talk about that. Nobody's going to just say, come on, let's keep it real. Let's be honest here. My man had a whole harem up in his mansion, and nobody had a problem with this. But yeah, we going to just, get Cosby on something that was 35 plus years ago that nobody knows whether it's true or not. Nobody knows. Forget what he did. I mean, in this particular case, do we honestly, we don't know. We don't know. So if that's going to be set the precedent, that means anybody that did something, and you're in your 50s and all of a sudden and trust me, I do want people to be, held responsible for some fuckery that they did. I get that. But at the same time, we have to be careful, because that means anybody can say, well, you know what, back in the day when I was 16 years old, and he was 25, and I finally felt like I had to come forward and say something. That was like 40 years ago. I mean, remember what happened with President Bill Clinton? At least she saved the dress. So she was smart enough to save the dress. She was like, all right, it went down and I could prove it. Here's the DNA. I was like, shit, she definitely knew what she was doing. She took that dress, folded it like she was working at the Gap, and placed it in the chest somewhere in the back of her closet for the next whatever amount of years that was going to go by, when she could pull that thing out like a friggin' rabbit out of a top hat. She definitely did it. She was like, I did not have sex with that woman. I didn't. And then all of a sudden she's like, oh, word? She flipped that joint out like, the evidence is here. What? Of course. Come on, man. So, I mean, I that's all I'm saying. What's the how do we know all this went down, and this just sets things in such a bad way, because now anybody can say whatever. I can say it now. I can say it from back when I was a kid. Well, you know what? This guy used to take care of me, as a kid when I was 5 years old. Yeah, he did some crazy stuff to me, and yeah, I want him to pay me $500,000 if that person was famous. So I'm like, I don't know, man. I just have so many questions. It is what it is. Anyway, so last thing that's on the list that I found out interesting is FedEx is well on the way, and I've always said this before on the show, FedEx is on the way of electrifying their whole fleet, man. They got 150 what they call Zevo 600s that are being deployed, or they have been deployed in Southern California. They want to actually electrify their whole fleet by 2040. You think that FedEx isn't the only one in the game that's going to do that? UPS says they have released about 1,000 worldwide, and they plan to release 10,000 more electrical vehicles in the UK, and it's done by this company called Arrival. The name of the car is going to be Arrival. Of course, the big baddie, as everybody knows, that everybody uses, Amazon is saying they're doing the same thing. They plan to release about 100,000 by 2030. That's called Rivian. I spoke about it many moons ago. So once companies find out how they can make money, trust me when I say they will be on the way on electrifying everything. Now, mind you, think about it, folks. You're going to say, okay, that's beautiful for the environment. These huge companies are going to electrify. Guess what else is going to come into play? As I spoke about, I think a couple shows ago, about Japan's robot exhibit, right? They also are talking about, as far as delivery vehicles, how they're going to have actual robots that's going to be mounted on the inside of these delivery vehicles, and when they reach the destination, the back door opens, it lowers and releases this robot. The robot will literally walk up to the door and drop the package off, come back, remount itself onto the back of the delivery vehicle, the door shuts, and off the vehicle goes. So now think about it like this. I'm telling you, as companies try to figure out how to make this company-wide in the cheapest way they can, what do you think is going to happen next? Once cars start becoming electrified, battery powered, automation is next. Of course, Tesla is working out the bugs, and everybody wants to shit on Elon Musk and Tesla saying these things are not, but it's all about working out the bugs. And eventually, I will guarantee you, I'm telling you, a finger, I will give you a piece of my pinky finger if that does not happen in the future. In the future, everything will become automated. All those jobs that are repetitious, things that companies can save money on in terms of gas, in terms of people power, they will electrify and automate it. And those cars are going to be driving themselves. And robots, once they figure that out, robots will be delivering your packages right to your door. 24/7, no rest, no healthcare. You don't have to worry about these delivery people stealing your packages. You don't have to worry about people complaining. You don't have to worry about unions. Once companies figure it out, they will electrify and automate. Not that is a bad thing, but there's always going to be collateral damage. What that means for the working class or the working poor, of course, the people that work these jobs, they will shuffle you right on out the door. We're going in another direction. Okay, wait till they figure out how to do this. And we're going to, as human beings, that's what I do with Lyfeblood. Human beings are going to have to figure out what are they going to do in order to make money, because this is a capitalist society. And we have to figure out how we're going to soften the blow as these new technologies start to create underemployment, not unemployment. Not everybody's going to be unemployed, but the underemployed, where the same amount of people that was able to take care of the business of the company are no longer needed. So instead of needing 5,000 people to run a company tip top from 1 year to the next, now all you need is 2,000. All you need is 1,500. All you need is 1,000. What are those people going to do that are no longer employed with those companies they used to work for? What are they going to do for to take care of themselves and their families? How are they going to feed their families and pay their rent, their mortgages, and their cars? How are they going to do that? So trust me, people, it's coming. 2030 is around the corner. It is around the corner. It is. Look, when the pandemic started 2 years ago in 2020, I remember when it started and everybody had to stay home. That was 2 years ago. And here we are 2 years after, dealing with the tail end of COVID. And the news is not talking about it like it used to be. Everybody got their shots. All these things happened. We're pretty much outside the tunnel. Not completely, of course, but we've weathered the worst. And that's 2 years after. It went so quick. I don't even know where that time went. So here it is 2 years after the fact, the introduction of COVID-19 on the world. And now we're moving into 2023, halfway done with the year. Now you think 2030 is going to be around the corner? Trust 2030, 2040, within our lifetime. By the time I'm old and gray or grayer, companies are going to start putting out announcements saying, well, we have figured out how to electrify vehicles. And it's a beautiful thing for the environment, and it's all going to be beautiful. They're going to put out press releases, and it's going to be on the news. All these vehicles, we're listening to you guys because you were screaming about that we weren't taking care of the environment for so long. We finally turned a corner where all our vehicles are electrified. We're doing a fantastic job. Our new vans are computerized. It's damn near AI, because of course you have to think about how we're going to improve AI and how that's going to be introduced. Of course, not in terms of like HAL from 2000, what was it, 2010? 2001, excuse me, Space Odyssey, but it's not quite as like HAL, but enough where you can operate a vehicle and it's going to run rain, sleet, or snow, and it's going to pause and it's going to get where it needs to go. It's going to computerize. And what do you think the bean counters are going to be talking about? Well, we don't need all these people. We really don't need 2,000 people, sir. And they're going to start making those cuts. And he's like, well, we need somebody to deliver the package from the street. Psh, we got that covered. Remember that Japanese robot exhibit from 10 years ago? Yeah, they've come to perfect that as well. So, it's coming, folks. It's coming. And that's why Lyfeblood is going to stay on it. That's why Lyfeblood as it is, it's not about money. As I always said, it's about self-actualization. How are people going to sustain themselves? Once it gradually starts to happen, technology starts to, what's the word I'm looking, put people out of position, keeping people at home, where people are going to have more time Then Amazon, there was another article that came out. Amazon just fully, they just introduced now the fully automated robot in their warehouse. I just recently saw that Amazon automated robot. I think the first. Amazon's, here he goes. It's on The Verge. Amazon announces its first fully autonomous mobile warehouse robot. It can pick things up, put them down, and move them around. And it looks like a little Roomba, but it's like neon green. It's called Proteus, I think it is. So this thing is just moving. I mean, eventually you will not need humans anymore. It's happening right now. How are we going to prepare for what's coming? It's the boiling frog scenario, folks. It's the boiling frog scenario. It's not going to happen right away. It comes in increments every month, every year. It's going to be like a novelty at first. Oh my God, that's so cute. They're going to start selling toys and get for the kids. And then that's just the start. That's just the, that's just that's just the magic tricks, right? Pulling out the flowery whatever stick, out of your the breast pocket or whatever like that. Oh, flowers. Oh, that's so cute. That's just the beginning. Playing footsies. Once they start really perfecting it, all of a sudden you're going to have fully autonomous, as big as human beings taking care of your business, and then you're not needed anymore. Trust. Companies are going to find a way. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you for listening to me ramble on for this little show. Under an hour. Wow, I got it under an hour. Tune in next week. I'm looking forward to talking to you, talking more to you guys. I'm looking forward to talking more about different things happening in the world, keeping you guys abreast of what's happening technologically, socially, and all those things, dealing with Lyfeblood, of course. I'm here, folks. I'm here. I appreciate you for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Check it.
You just listened to GCOM Radio, powered by Lyfeblood.com for the global community.
We worldwide, baby.
See you in the next go round. From right here to your town, we out.